I am Father Ebin Christopher. I belong to the Missionaries of St. Didache. I'm so delighted to share with you why the Church considers life as most important gift from God and why we need to respect and protect life. The Church very clearly teaches us that life is a gift from God. From the very moment of conception, a unique human person comes into being, known and loved by God. Now, the psalmist in Psalm 139:13 tells us, "You created my innermost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb." Again, when you read Jeremiah 1:5, Jeremiah would say, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were even born, I consecrated you." This truth affirms that life does not begin at birth, nor is it defined by a human decision, but it springs from the Creator alone, who is the Lord of life. Every child who is conceived, whether in strength or in frailty, carries within themselves the image and likeness of God. For this reason, the dignity of life demands respect, care, and protection from the very first moment of conception to its natural death. The church document Lumen Gentium 22 tells us, by his incarnation, Christ has united himself with us. And in that, he fashions every man. Jesus worked with human hands, he thought with a human mind, and acted by human choice, and loved with a human heart. Being born of the Virgin, he has truly been made one of us in all things except sin. In this mystery, the human person is revealed as a created in the image of God and called to share his divine nature, which tells us that we need to take every step to protect, defend, and safeguard life. Therefore, this month, our Bishop Conference invites us to pray, prepare, share, engage in actions which can help us to preserve and enrich this beautiful mystery of life God has given us. Now, when you read the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 2270 tells that human life must be protected absolutely from the moment of conception to its natural death, and human being must be recognized as having their rights as a person from the very moment of conception. Now, this teaching tells us that no circumstance, no calculation of convenience or hardship can diminish the worth of human person in the eye of God. Jesus himself calls us to pay attention to the providence rather than focusing on human calculation. He tells us in Matthew, look at the birds of the air. They neither sow seed or gather in barns. He also tells us, look at the lilies of the field. God cares for these elements of the nature. Therefore, he cares much more for human person whom he has made in his image. It tells us that we are in God's image, that we need to take every step possible to defend and safeguard life. Now, while the gospel proclaims the beauty of life, the world often offers practices, ways which can threaten life. The tragedy of abortion takes very life which is given by God. The church disapproves of this act. At the same time, extends the hand of the merciful Father to the persons who are wounded by it. Now, the church fathers like St. Basil the Great of the early church tells us that the one who destroys an unborn child is guilty of murder. The earliest writing, the Christian writing known as the Didache, maybe around 50 AD, also tells us you shall not murder a child by abortion or kill that which is begotten. It shows that church from its earliest moment was always for safeguarding life. Now, this is a tradition which is handed over to us from centuries because safeguarding life is in the plan of God and God is the author of life. Now, the embryonic stem cell research and in vitro fertilization raise ethical concerns because they treat life as something to be manipulated, stored, or discarded. The church teaches us that desire for a child is good and it is natural. But a child is never a possession or a right. But a child is a gift from God, entrusted by God to a parent. When you read the document Donum Vitae, it very clearly tells a child is not something owed to one, but is a gift. The supreme gift of marriage is a human person. That this truth challenges us to resist technological practices that endanger embryos or separate conception from the loving embrace of a husband and wife. Similarly, the contraceptives, especially that of abortifacients, close the door to life and interrupt the openness to God's creative plan. Surrogacy and other reproductive technologies can also undermine the dignity of life of the child and the integrity of family life, reducing the mystery of procreation to a commercial or contractual exchange. The church calls us instead to be the witnesses of the beauty of life, which is seen in the sacrament of marriage, which participates in the creative act of God, where life is received, not manipulated, stored, or discarded. The church, therefore, encourages us to pray earnestly, to support life, and to understand with the empathy those who seek children, to love them in their family and care for them. When you defend life, safeguard life, protect life, you simply reenact the goodness of God, who is the author of life. The Holy Father John Paul II often gives us a message to all of us, especially in the Evangelium Vitae. He tells us we must speak the truth, even if we become 12 again. This highlights the courage we need to speak for life and promote life. Again, in Evangelium Vitae, he teaches us that it is to be preached with dauntless fidelity as good news to the people of every age and culture. You and me need to share the importance of life before the eye of God. It is also important for us to understand that church does not merely oppose that which threatens life. She celebrates the wonder of a child. Each child, each human person reveals the beauty of God. Each human person reveals to us the mystery of God who is invisible. And each human person brings out that invisible God to us. Our task as believers is to safeguard life, to support families, and extend hands of mercy and healing to those who are wounded, and become voices of the people who are in the margins of our society. The Lord also promises assurance that no life is forgotten, that no child is overlooked, for even the hairs of the head are numbered. Now, if you happen to hold a tender child who is newborn, a week old, you can admire the beauty of God's creation. That will open us that nurturing tenderness in you. To be people of life, to be pro-life means it's not simple rejection of abortion as unethical practice, but it is a call to embrace the gospel in reverence, to love and protect life in all its stages. It is a call to trust Jesus, that the Heavenly Father who cared for the birds of the air, lilies of the field, will also care for us. Therefore, it is absolutely important that we protect life from its very first moment of conception to that final whisper of breath that we would take on this year.